How y'all doing? Tonight, this afternoon, we're going to talk about chapter 4, nonverbal communication. You'll see it's direct opposite from the verbal communication, but that's kind of a given, right? So let's get started. Nonverbal can be intentional or unintentional, and we'll talk about the differences between the two, and sometimes when it happens unintentional and it causes confusion, and how well we use it intentionally just to see what's going on. And this is basically anything that's not words. Anything that's not words. What it is usually spontaneous and unintentional. When you roll your eyes, or when you look away, or when you're shocked, and your body and your facial movements show that. Unintentional is just things what happens automatically with yourself. I was going to think of something. Don't believe anything you hear, only half of what you see. Don't believe anything you hear, words, and only half of what you see, nonverbal. The nonverbal is much more believable than your verbal language. Your eyes can speak the truth, and when people see that, they believe what you're saying. They could see if you're forcing it, like sometimes you see with me, or if you're telling a lie if your body says something else. We always believe nonverbal over verbal. Our nonverbals can conform, complement, or accent what we're saying. You can really do some accent, like, this is really what I mean, or I'm really sad and broken up over this. Just your nonverbals and your facial movement and your hand movement shows that. Complimenting to me is whenever somebody speaks with their hands a lot and really shows some emphasis about their message. Substituting verbal messages are, of course, a lot like this empire is doing with hand signals, telling them what's going on. You could say we have 4, there we go, 4 tests in this unit, and it will show how we could substitute it. There's a bunch of tests in this unit. It's not the best example in the world, but let's go with that. Sometimes it's inappropriate, some of the hand signals we give, and we all know about flipping the bird, and am I doing this right? Don't mean to do that personally. So there's some inappropriate and some appropriate languages. Some are okay, but only in certain situations. I was just watching a TV show, Miranda. I think I mentioned it before. And this lady ends up burping a lot and farting a lot. And when she does it, she'll say, ooh, like this. And people won't even notice that she did it, but she uses her inappropriate hand motion. It's hilarious. It's bathroom humor, but it's hilarious. So sometimes that you could contradict, or your body's verbals are saying something different. And I've laid back and say, oh yeah, I'm in a good mood. I'm happy. Yeah, whatever. I'm excited. Yeah, let's go do this. Woohoo. But my body language is saying, yeah, let's get this over with. So a lot of times we can manage impressions. I know that I've gone into situations where, just the other night, my daughter called me up and she says, can you take me out for my birthday dinner? I said, you bet I can. And literally 5 minutes earlier, the doorbell rang and Domino's delivered me a pizza. And I'm sitting on my couch with a pizza on my lap ready to eat when she calls me. And I knew birthday dinner, I'm kind of stuck, but I love her. And I knew that I had to put the pizza to the side and go. I had had an ugly day at work, hence the pizza. Food therapy makes me feel better. And I just wanted to sit on my butt, watch Miranda with all of her bathroom humor, and eat a pizza. But I had to go manage my relationships, regulate my nonverbal signals, and be happy. Sure, I was happy. Inside I was tired, kind of grumpy, but I put on a happy face and did it. We always do it all the time. And that's just what we're supposed to do as mature adults. I was adulting. The nonverbals regulate back and forth the flow of communication. One last thing on this slide is sometimes with your nonverbals, you'll say and kind of lean forward like, do you really like this? And lean forward, or use your hands and say, what do you think? What do you think? Put my hands up here where you can see them. And it regulates. Now it's your turn to talk. Nonverbal would be me flipping sides. And you know that there's a pause in talking. Eye contact is one of the best ways to make intimacy, to draw you close together. Now let me give you a hint. eye contact past 3 seconds becomes creepy. So when you're looking at somebody, I'm going to look right into the camera, and you're talking to them, you need to subconsciously think, okay, now it's time to look away. And you come back. And really, that's exactly what I mean. And then you look away. You do not look down when you look away. It shows lack of confidence. If you're talking to a lady and you look down, you're looking at a rack, which is inappropriate. Sorry if I said that inappropriately. But women to women also. When you look away, you look to the side, or you look over here, look over their shoulder, then you come back. If you look over his shoulder, then you can look down and come back up. That's okay. 3 seconds, anything more than that, you're creepy. I was at a social gathering the other day talking about smiling, and somebody told me that you need to have a happy countenance. You need to look happy. And a lot of men, when they get older, their face looks like this because they never smile all the time. And just standing there, you're like, you kind of look frumpy. And they said you need to have a happy countenance, so I knew I needed to smile a lot. And when you meet somebody, especially somebody over 30, if they have a lot of crow's feet here, crinkles in their eyes, that means they smiled a lot, because see how things just open up here? But when they look like this, it means they don't smile a lot. So I would walk around smiling a lot, and I really try to smile a lot since they've told me that. But anyway, I'm in this social situation with a lot of young ladies, 12 to 18, and some women that were chaperoning him at the time. And I'm there with a couple of other guys performing a service, and we're taking care of this event. And I just kept smiling because it was the right thing to do. But the event was kind of churchy, sacred even. And I'm sitting there smiling, and it wasn't that nothing but what bad was happening, and it wasn't inappropriate. But smiling kind of, to me, almost seemed out of place, because we were supposed to be somber. You know, but I was smiling. And about 2/3 of the way through it, somebody came up to me, and they had a big smile on their face. And when they were sitting there waiting for their turn, they were kind of somber, but they had a big smile on their face. And I knew that it made a difference by me smiling. It made a difference. So I would say the default setting is to smile, even if you may think it's creepy. When I walk up and down the halls at school, or when I'm at Walmart, I smile 90% of the time just to see what reactions I get from other people. I try not to smile at somebody that's female, that's under 12, or some guys too, you know, this because I don't want to be a creeper, but smiling is always appropriate. Let's talk about physical touch, and we're going to do this again. Let me show you this great picture. Let me make it full screen just so you can see it easier. That didn't make a difference. Let me bring it back. If you notice, that's the front of a person on the top line and the back side of a person on the bottom line. And basically what it says is, who are you going to let touch you? And we start right here with your partner, husband, wife, best friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. What this chart is saying, that they can touch you wherever they want. And it's cool. If you have an intimate partner, they can touch you wherever they want. There's places right now that my mom would teach me, that touch me. My dad's passed away. That's a lot closer than where it says here, mother. And I'm 50. But that's all culturally. You look at friends. Is it on your front half? Is it okay for your friend to touch you on the top half of your torso? That's up to you. But that touch causes intimacy. The more intimate you are with somebody, let me minimize that. Intimacy, mimicry, appropriate touching, where we're going to touch that's appropriate. And you can see that friends, if you go all the way to brothers and sisters, there's areas that you don't touch them at all. Aunts and uncles, we all have relatives we're closer with and we're not so close with, all the way to an acquaintance where they can't touch you, to a perfect stranger. Even bumping you on a subway, if they touch you in certain places, it's completely inappropriate. Certain places you can touch and can't. Different cultures, like I said, are going to touch in different places, and it's just appropriate. It's just the way, well, I don't know about appropriate, but it's just the way they are. Sometimes you touch somebody just to start that immediacy, and it's not really true. When you shake somebody's hand with both hands and you shake it really tight, and you're trying to prove to them that you're really interested and it's important to you, but sometimes you just do that just to say, hey, it's social convention, what we're supposed to do. So some nonverbal codes that we do, like shushing somebody, sends a message. watching a TV show, and the person would get a text and say, wait, wait, but they use their hand. There's my hand. Okay, because they were reading their text and they didn't want to hear words. Of course, flipping the bird, things like that. Or go away from me, kid, you're bothering me. Or a lot of times people ask me a question, I'll just say thumbs up and not say nothing. This lecture works a lot better when you have full body, not this, because my hand movements, my nonverbal signals that I use when I'm lecturing. So anyway, a couple of things about nonverbal. The first one is emblems. Tell me, would you still wear a Tommy Hilfiger logo? Is it cool? How about Adidas or Nike or Puma? What kind of logo is okay? How about a Tiger Woods logo? When he was playing golf, he's at the top of his game, Tiger Woods. Not really appropriate now. How about a Washington Redskins jersey? With the name Redskins being so controversial now, would you wear it? That's an emblem, and it shows what we stand for. I got a really cool Bernie Sanders shirt when he was running for president that I'm still wearing on occasion, and it shows my political allegiance. It would be an emblem of what I stand for. But I also got a President Trump shirt too, so I wear them just to mess with people. Basically, the emblems we wear, if it's a biker jacket, like I'm a Hells Angel, or if it's a hat from a sports team, or sometimes if you're just going to wear your Walmart pajamas when you're going shopping, that's an emblem of who you are and how you're feeling. We all have them, we all wear them. Illustrators helps visualize what we're saying. These PowerPoints are illustrators, a nonverbal signal. And regulators are managing our interaction. A regulator like nonverbal, like we talked about, like, what do you think about this? And as you're leaning forward, it shows them that you want to hear, you're interested in what they have to say. Or if you say, I do this a lot, ADD, I'm like, come on, come on, come on, get done, get done, get done. Because I know what they're going to say, or I don't care what they're going to say. Kinetics, how you're going to convey feelings, moods, and your reactions. It's all about your physical appearance, what you're doing here. So feelings of sadness with your eyes and your moods are all reacted. I talked about being scared before and your reactions, right? Facial expressions are part of this. There's a lot of expressions that no matter where you're at, what culture you're in, people are going to recognize that. There's 7 of them. And when somebody's happy or mad, that's the deal. So that facial expression is going to give it away. You can pretend like you're surprised because somebody gave away that you have a party, but people are going to know if you're acting surprised or not, if it's true. So sometimes we act a certain way, but our words act a certain way, like when I was telling my daughter, oh yeah, this is really great, let's do this. But she can tell on my body that I was tired, fatigued. She was really grateful I went out with her and that we had a good time together. But she can tell my body was telling her I was fatigued, I had worked all day, things were tired. Let me show you those facial expressions. Now that you looked over them, let me tell you something real quick. With my facial expressive, I'm just sitting here, my facial expression, and I'm deep in thought, or the problem is that many people see that facial expression and all they know are these 7 different expressions. So they see this. Which one is it? Sadness, anger. You see how naturally my lips go like this, and I really don't like that. But I would have a lot of times where my daughter would come in when she was younger and says, are you mad? You look mad. I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm just, I'm just me. She goes, no, you're mad. You look mad. And when people aren't mature, have had a lot of experiences, these are the expressions or the moods that they pick up from you. You're either sad or mad. She could tell when I'm surprised or when I'm interested, and it's not just my facial expression, but if you're interested, you're leaning in. And I had to teach my daughter, as I've had a lot of students, that there's more than just 7 different expressions, and you need to be able to read other verbal clues. If they're leaning in, if they're sitting back, if their body's agitated and kind of shaking, that it could be more than just anger they're feeling. Could be tired, could be frustrated, could be your mind's occupied somewhere else. But those are the things I taught my daughter, so she wouldn't always say, "Are you mad? I don't like it when you're mad." So give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Thank you. We now resume our regular scheduled program. Your eye behavior. One of the things that I really don't like is when people roll their eyes like, "Oh man, it's not my generational thing, it's not my culture thing," but that this happens, I had to say it because it bugs me. So different things with your eyes are accepted from different cultures. I had students from Korea, and they would come up and talk to me after class, or we would have papers that are due, and I'd talk to each student about papers. And through the whole semester, this young man never looked me in the eye. He would walk up to me and he'd be checking his feet, walking to where he's going, and never look me in the eye. He'd put his paper out like this, and the only way he knew if I grabbed it is if I pulled it out of his hand. In his culture, it just was not acceptable. In my spare time, I help tutor citizenship lessons for people that are trying to get their citizenship. Different ethnicities, different cultures and stuff. And there are certain cultures that I cannot talk to because the female-male thing or the age difference thing. And a lot of that is eye behavior. I cannot look them in the eye. I cannot make that connection between the cultures. Vocal, nonverbal communication. And you would say, if I'm talking like this, or I'm talking really fast because I'm excited, and I usually talk fast anyway, but I'm just trying to convey a point, and I'm really fast because I only have 15 minutes to do this lecture, and I know it's a 35-minute lecture, that rhythm or that rate is a nonverbal signal. I'm saying the same words. We've agreed on the symbols and the meaning of those words. It's just nonverbal, how high or how low it is, how loud you speak. If you're yelling, that's going to be a different tone. I got woken up in the middle of the night the other night with somebody yelling, "Help, help, help." And I'm like, what the hell is that? What the heck is that? Sorry about that. And I finally got up and looked out the window as the neighbor yelling help for somebody in the house to come out. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. If somebody says, "I want to help," or if they're yelling, "Help," we know that is a nonverbal clue. Vocalizations is saying a lot, which some of you do in your speeches, and it shows your emotional state, meaning you're nervous. Enough said on that. We'll talk more about that when we talk about our speeches. I was at Verizon getting a new cell phone, upgrading my new cell phone after a year. And it was busy. It was a Saturday. And there were 3 lines at the checkout counter to give them your money. And we already worked out the contract. We got the phone number and all that stuff for the salesperson. And there were 3 lines. And I got in the shortest line. And I looked up. And it was an old dude. Well, he's 40. I'm a little bit older than that. It's an old dude. But the line in the middle was a cute young lady. And that line was the longest. And it's just the way it worked. And I'm waiting in line. I'm about the 2nd or 3rd person back in my line. And the guy was in the middle line. He went up to this gal, this young lady. And she says, "Oh, you got the best phone out there. You're so smart. You got a great idea, great phone." He says, "Oh, thanks." She says, "You need a phone case, don't you?" And he says, like, yeah. And she says, "Well, let me see the color shoes you have on." And she looks, she goes, "Well, you need a black case because it goes with your shoes." And he says, "Cool." And she says, "But wait, do you go to church on Sundays?" And he says, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, this would probably look better if you're wearing a tie." And he ended up buying 2 phone cases because of that attraction bias. Her line was longer. People wanted to be waited on by her, and they buy more stuff. Tall, good-looking guys make more money than old fat guys. That's the same thing with women. My daughter's a waitress now, and she's been going to the gym more often, losing weight and getting better shape because she makes better tips. It's just the way it is. Physical appearance in America, there's a bias. And I don't care who you are, that's the way it works. Everybody gravitates towards the better looking person. I heard a great guy talking, well, it's been 2 years ago on the radio now, and he said most quarterbacks in college and the NFL are the best looking guy on the team. And it's because even at a very young age, we have an attraction bias. And on the playground, they say who's going to be quarterback, and we automatically turn towards the best looking person there because we automatically give our allegiance to the better looking person. It's the way it goes. Happens in business, it happens in politics. You got to think about it. Who is better looking, Hillary or Trump? And I don't think anybody's going to say that Trump's a good looking man, but it has been said several times that Hillary was looking tired. Women do not age as gracefully as men. Because that, several people said she was looking tired, a little bit ragged, and it hurt her. Trump's looks didn't help him, but Hillary's hurt her. So artifacts are just like symbols or emblems. It's what we wear, and it conveys a different message. You can be really cute and have tattoos. That makes a difference. I have a tenant, and when she came over to rent my place, she was dressed very nice after work. But once she moved in, I realized that she had sleeves, tattoos all the way up and down her back, and one big one on her right in here somewhere. And I didn't know that. But when I found that out, I definitely had a different stereotype about her. But gratefully, having met her before in the interview process and knowing her since then, I know the stereotypes that the world puts on somebody with a tattoo definitely didn't apply there. So artifacts changes the message. This is really good. Where's your intimate space? Who do you let in your intimate space? And I know that I've like this before. I've also walked away, and I've tried to make my personal space big. When guys sit down in a chair, they'll kind of lean back, put the arms to their side, and then spread their legs. And it gives us more personal space, where women kind of sit up and then cross their legs at the knees, not at the ankles, cross their legs at the knees, and hold themselves tight. They take up a smaller footprint of space. When women talk, they get closer together, their faces, where men kind of stand back. Just the way we are. Where's your personal space? There's certain people we let into our personal space. Little kids kind of get that pass. It's okay if they go in. So, but one thing, and I think everybody understands that, this is my personal space. You're invading my personal space. But what you want to know for the test is these measurements here. 0 to 18 inches are your intimate space. 18 to 4 feet, personal space. I think that 4 feet's a bit big for me, but that's culturally different. Social space and public space, everything after 12 feet. You'll want to know those measurements, trust. We do get territorial about space. We do things to claim our territory. Whenever I come into a new classroom, I'll set my backpack right here next to me, and I'll sit in this chair, and it shows this is my territory. Don't get into my space. Implied occupation with my backpack there. Environment, arranging things, moving things around. Whenever I'm sitting next to, I put my backpack here, and if the chairs move, I'll put the other chair in front of me and put a foot up on it. That's my environment. That's my space. So we're claiming territory, and we're arranging our environment to discourage people to come in. Sometimes putting your back to a certain way. That way people can't approach you. Changing your environment. Now here we talked about touch, and we talked about where it's okay to touch people at, but there's different reasons we touch. Handshakes, are they appropriate? Fist bumps, high fives. If you're a germaphobe and you don't want to shake their hand, how do you do that? Do you say, I'm a germaphobe? Or do you say, you know? If you're a germaphobe, you found out what to do, and you know who you're worried about offending because you're a germaphobe. What's appropriate socially? Is it okay to give a hug? There's a guy at church that always wants to hug everybody. And I think it's a bit creepazoid, but he does it to everybody, and I've kind of said, okay, go ahead and do it, even though it's not my most comfortable thing. Try to shake his hand all the time, and he pulls me in for a hug, and our handshakes are stuck between our bellies, and it's just awkward, but that's who he is. And I'm being polite, so I let him do it. With my guy friends, I have no problem pushing them or punching them in the shoulder saying, hey, dude, how's it going? I'm not slugging them, but I'm punching them in the shoulder. That's just what I do. Other friends will give a nice little small hug, something like that. When you love somebody, I have no problem kissing my mom or my daughter on the cheek, but that's as far as I'm going to go. And then if you don't know yet how to sexually arouse somebody, we're in the wrong class. So let me see if this is where I want to. Let me talk about this now. Oh, I sure wish this was in person because this is important and you guys may not like me for this. And this causes a lot of controversy when I bring this up. So I hope you're listening to this. I'm pausing for importance. So you bring curiosity. This is nonverbal. You get curiosity and you know this is important. This is Howie's rule. A child, baby, or baby walking child, till about the age of 8 or until they leave my house, 10, 12, a child never kisses anybody but their mom, ever, nobody. They can kiss their mom, not on the lips, on the cheek, on the forehead. Never kisses their dad, never kisses grandma, grandpa, never kisses aunts, uncles, babysitters, nobody. A child only kisses their mom. And to me, that's because there's weirdos out there. And it's hard for you, okay, some people it wouldn't be, but to say my baby's not going to kiss you, or give grandma some loving, but do you give it to grandpa? Is it okay? If you're at church and they give somebody, loving at somebody at church, and the next person says, well, what about me? It's just, to me, I draw that line and they don't do it to anybody. Teach your kid how to give high fives. And you say, oh yeah, give grandpa a high five, or give brother so-and-so a high five. And that way you could draw that boundary quickly and easy. I was married when I lived in California, and my wife told me that. And I thought it was kind of rude. Because what about grandma? Me and my mom are tight. Kind of a mama's boy. And my daughter and my grandma are tight. But I went ahead and went along with that rule, and I found out that it was a good rule to have. Some of these conversations I've had about a child never kisses anybody but mom has gone over bad because some cultures, we'll talk about culture in a few minutes, just do that. That's just the way they are. But for me, my family, my culture, that's where I made the line. If you want to shoot me an email about that and tell me I'm wrong, cool. If you want to shoot me an email and say, Howie, you're brilliant, cool. I'm all right with that too. Time orientation. Do you value time? Are you always late? What kind of message are you sending if you're late or if you're early? If you show up to an appointment early and the person's out there thinking you're out there stalking them, is that good? Is that bad? In your culture, how early is too early? How do you react if somebody's late? Time is a huge nonverbal clue, okay? It's going to send a message of what's important to you and what's not. If you're picking somebody up for a date, this is old school, you actually knock on the door, pick them up, and they're not ready, what do? Or if they say come in, sit down, and they go finish getting ready, is that appropriate? That time sends a message. If you have to take a phone call and you're on a date, from who? That's another story. But how long do you talk to them? How long do you step away from the table and talk to them? That time is valuable. That time's important. So I'm going to tell you this again when we talk about interpersonal relationships, but when you do something is important. I have a saying that says, it's not how you ask, it's when you ask. You can ask anybody anything if you ask them at the right time. Don't ask them when they're mad or grumpy. Don't ask them whenever they're tired. Ask them when they're in a good mood, or ask them when they're already in a giving mood, and go ahead and ask them. It's not what, it's when. When is the most important. When are you going to bring that conversation up? The second thing I would tell you is, if you're going on a date and you're not sure, or you don't know what you want to do if you're going to go out with this person, of course, this is on the first or second date, you go out to lunch. Lunch is for friendships, dinner's for romance. If you go out to lunch, you can meet them there. You don't have to worry about getting a ride. It's perfectly okay to say, hey, I'll meet you at Chili's, or let's go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I'll meet you there. Lunch, it's okay. Dinner, usually end up riding together. Awkward. You don't like them. Awkward. And if you go to dinner, they say, oh, what are you going to do now? We get done with dinner. It's 8:39. Oh, what do you want to do? I want to leave. I want to get away from you. If it's lunch, you say, I got to go back to work. Or, man, I'm so busy today. It's great having lunch with you. I'll talk to you later. Lunch is for friendship. Dinner's for romance. Cool? Right on. Nonverbal. Cool? Yeah, let's roll. Different cultures have different things. My wife, Hispanic, and we definitely acted different. And her grandma and her mom were huggers. Guys weren't that way. And you can see sex and gender are different. But the women were huggers, and that's just what they did. And they also touched a lot. And that was okay. But what's your culture like? Do you hug? And even better yet, what kind of culture are you passing on to your kids? Is it the culture that your spouse has or your significant other had? Or is it your culture? Have you conformed to their culture for nonverbals? What appropriate hand signals are okay? If it's okay to talk with your hands? If you're together, what's appropriate touch? And is yours or theirs what's being handed down to kids, or is it a mixture between the two of you? Culture is different than ethnicity. Certain ethnic cultures have nonverbal languages that are specific to that culture. One of the great videos I show right now is my big fat Greek wedding. And I should have had that for you, sorry. And the culture is very loud. Their voices are loud, very verbal, and it works really well. So let me see if I can pause. Okay, here's the preview.
Did you want to see some brochures?
Nonverbal.
Found 'em.
When Tula met Ian, she found her man.
I just want to spend a little time with you.
And he found her family.
No one in my family has ever gone out with a non-Greek before. Oh!
A respectful boy would come here and ask for my permission. May I please date your daughter? No!
Still cracks me up.
Offended now.
Maybe.
You invited the whole family?
She's gonna be baptized tomorrow. Nikki gonna be your godmom. I've never seen my sister so happy, bro. If you hurt her, I'll kill you and make it look like an accident. Hey, Ian, we're gonna kill you.
You got the idea. Different cultures act different ways. Different cultures act different ways. Different genders act different ways. So let's talk a little bit more about mediated communication, text messaging. Mediated meaning the timing. It's also mediated about the vocal pitch, the variety, things like that. This is mediated because it's a one-way conversation. So you'll lose all those clues, almost sounds like a cartoon. Excuse me. You lose all the clues that gives you more information, if I'm lying or not. How long of eye contact do I keep? You don't know. It seems like I'm always looking to the left whenever you guys, but anyway, this is weird. Do emojis? Does the font size really make up for that when you're texting? How about if you get an email? Do you ever try to read something into it, or why do they send that? There's a lot of gray area there. I think technology is helping. I don't like saying this because I don't want to make it sound like I'm super cool, even though I am. I help teach English to refugees from Africa. And the family didn't have a computer. We had an older computer, went to their house, set it up. And I said, if you have questions for me, you need to call me. And they said, okay. And the wife doesn't speak any English. The kids do okay, the older ones, because they live off of American TV. And the husband does pretty darn well. And I said, but if you call me, you're going to have to describe what's on the screen. But even better, make friends with me on Facebook. And we did that. And I said, this is why. And I grabbed my phone and we did FaceTime. And that this blew their mind. They didn't know. And the richness of that communication. And I said, this is how you communicate with people far away. They have cell phones in the Congo, where they came from, the big cities there. And they have Facebook. And they could chat. And I showed them how they could talk to each other. And the richness, that mediated communication was dissipated. And they had that richness of texting. And it changed their life. It was wonderful. But the mediated communication we use, like text messaging, way different, way weird. I think this is the last one. Hey, yay. So it's all about the situation we're in, what we can get away with, what we can't. There's certain places you need to whisper. If you want to get somebody's attention, your significant other is sitting there and you're talking to them and talking to them, they're not listening, or you really want to get their attention, whisper. Whenever you whisper, people quiet down, settle down, and lean in, and it's important, like a secret. So that physical space that you bring up, if you're in a bad mood, you're going to be like this, and people are going to feel that vibe and give you more physical space. It's all about the situation, the timing. Personal versus impersonal. The more personal it is, the more close you're going to decrease that distance. You're going to be closer. So, and we've all had formal and informal conversations. If we're going to have a formal conversation like a job interview, we're going to dress different. Those symbols that we are wearing are going to be different. We're going to communicate a different way non-verbally. If it's informal, if you want to go to Walmart at 12:30 in the morning to get some Ben & Jerry's, you're really not going to care what your nonverbals are saying, the way you walk, the way you dress, things like that. So basically that's nonverbal. Hopefully you learned some stuff about me so we can be better nonverbal friends. So, and that's it. If you have any questions, please give me an email. If the questions are huge, we could talk on the phone. It's important to me that this class is more than just an online class where you blow through it. COM 101 teaches you a lot of really cool stuff. I have great time in my class, and hopefully some of that conveys across this video chat that we have. So be cool, and I'll chat with you. Bye.